Across the world, there are ancient structures so unusual that even today, experts still struggle to explain how they were built. Massive underground chambers carved with a precision that looks almost machine-made, entire monuments cut directly into solid rock, and structures sitting in locations so extreme that reaching them is still a challenge now, let alone thousands of years ago. Many of these sites were created long before modern tools or technology existed, yet the level of precision, planning, and engineering still raises serious questions. How were these massive structures built? Who created them? And what techniques were used to achieve something that still seems almost impossible today? From mysterious underground cities to enormous rock-cut temples, these are 10 ancient structures built by unknown civilizations that experts still can't fully explain. Located in Indonesia, Borobudur is one of the largest Buddhist temples ever constructed and one of the most visually striking. The structure consists of multiple levels, each covered in detailed carvings and statues. The layout is highly symmetrical, forming a massive stone monument that required precise planning on a scale that's difficult to fully appreciate without standing in front of it. Thousands of stone blocks were used in its construction, each one carefully placed to contribute to the overall design. Not just stacked, but fitted and arranged with a level of consistency that runs across the entire structure. The scale, the precision, and the sheer complexity of Borobudur make it one of the most impressive ancient structures ever built. And even today, experts continue to study exactly how ancient builders achieved it, and the answers are still not fully resolved. Rising high above the surrounding landscape in Sri Lanka, Sigiriya is a massive rock fortress that appears almost impossible to build. At nearly 200 meters tall, the structure sits on top of a sheer rock column with steep sides on every edge. There is no gradual slope, no easy approach, just vertical rock rising out of the surrounding terrain, with an ancient palace built at the very top. To reach the summit, ancient builders carved a series of narrow stairways directly into the rock face. Even today, the climb is difficult, which raises an obvious question about how materials were transported to the top during construction. At the summit, the remains of a palace can still be seen, including terraces, walls, and even water features. This wasn't a rough shelter carved into a convenient location. It was a carefully planned structure built in one of the most challenging locations imaginable. Surrounding the base are symmetrical gardens and advanced water systems, some of which are still functional today. That detail alone points to a level of engineering that seems far ahead of its time. How such a complex fortress was constructed on top of this isolated rock column remains unclear. Discovered by accident in China, the Longyu Caves are a series of massive underground chambers carved directly into solid rock. At first glance, they appear almost too precise to be ancient. Each cave features smooth walls, evenly spaced pillars, and a consistent pattern carved across every surface. The level of detail found throughout these chambers suggests careful planning and precise, coordinated execution, not the work of random excavation. What makes this even more puzzling is the scale of what would have been required to create them. Carving these chambers out of solid rock meant removing millions of tons of material, and yet there are no clear records of who built them or why. Even more unusual is the fact that multiple caves share the same design, as if they were all constructed from a single plan by the same builders, working toward the same goal. Despite extensive research, no tools have been found at the site. No construction methods have been identified. No historical accounts have emerged to explain their origin. How these vast underground spaces were created with such precision remains a mystery, and one that researchers are no closer to resolving today than when the caves were first discovered. In the Saudi Arabian desert stands Al-Nasla, a massive rock formation split cleanly in two. The cut between the two halves is so straight and so smooth that it appears almost artificial. The rock rests on narrow natural pedestals, creating a perfectly balanced structure that has stood in this position for an unknown length of time. What makes it so unusual is the precision of the split itself. The division between the two halves looks far more exact than anything you'd expect from a natural geological process. Not jagged, not fractured, not eroded into its current shape. Just a clean, flat cut straight down the middle. How this formation occurred so cleanly is still debated, and no explanation put forward so far has been widely accepted. Carved directly into a towering cliff face in Iran, Naqsh Rostam features a series of large tombs cut high into the rock. The entrances are positioned far above ground level, surrounded by detailed carvings that have survived for thousands of years in remarkable condition. Creating structures at that height would have required significant effort and a level of precision that's difficult to account for using only the tools available at the time. Yet there is very little evidence of how builders accessed these areas during construction. No clear evidence of scaffolding systems capable of reaching these elevations. No accounts of the process. Even today, the methods used to carve and position these tombs so far above the ground remain unclear. There are many more ancient mysteries still to come, and you don't want to miss them. Subscribe and leave a like if you want to see more ancient history content. Located in India, Chand Bauri is one of the deepest and most visually striking stepwells ever constructed. It descends over 20 meters into the ground, and from above, the effect is immediately striking. Thousands of perfectly aligned steps form a geometric pattern that drops away beneath you, with a symmetry that appears almost mathematically precise. That symmetry is almost flawless, and building something this precise at such depth would have required careful planning and execution at every stage, with no room for cumulative error as the structure went deeper. Each level had to align with the one above it. Each step had to match the pattern established from the very start of construction. How ancient builders achieved this level of consistency, working downward into the earth without the tools or measurement technology available today, remains uncertain. Once the capital of the Hittite Empire, Hattusa was a vast, ancient city surrounded by massive stone walls stretching across rugged terrain in what is now Turkey. The scale of the site is immediately striking. These defensive walls were built using enormous stone blocks, some carefully shaped and fitted together with a level of precision that researchers still find difficult to fully account for. Several monumental gates, including the famous Lion Gate, still stand today. But what makes Hattusa so puzzling is not just the scale, it's the location. The terrain across which these walls were built would have made construction extremely difficult under any circumstances. Transporting and positioning massive stone blocks across that kind of uneven ground without modern equipment or infrastructure raises serious questions about the engineering involved. The layout of the city also suggests careful planning, with fortifications, tunnels, and structures designed for both defense and long-term organization. Building something of this scale in this location would have required significant coordination and engineering knowledge. How ancient builders were able to achieve it remains uncertain. Another remarkable Mayan site, Palenque is known for its intricate architecture and detailed carvings, structures that display a level of precision that is genuinely difficult to explain using the tools available at the time. The stonework here isn't rough or approximate. It is carefully executed, consistently precise, and spread across a complex that took significant time and planning to realize. Inside the Temple of the Inscriptions, hidden chambers and passageways reveal a complex internal design that goes far beyond basic construction. These features suggest not just skilled labor, but advanced knowledge of construction techniques, planning that accounted for hidden spaces, internal corridors, and structural integrity maintained over centuries. Even today, researchers continue to study how these structures were built with such accuracy, and the questions keep coming. In Ethiopia, a group of churches were carved directly into solid rock, forming one of the most unique architectural sites on Earth. But these structures weren't built upward, adding stone on top of stone in the way most ancient construction works. They were carved downward, cut into the ground, removing material rather than placing it. The most famous of these, Beta Georgis, is shaped like a cross, and it was cut entirely from a single block of stone. That single fact changes the nature of what was required. This wasn't assembly, it was subtraction, executed with a level of precision that left clean edges, consistent angles, and a recognizable form that has survived for centuries. The precision required to achieve this is remarkable by any standard. Even today, how these structures were created with such accuracy remains unclear. Hidden deep in the jungles of Mexico, Itzna is an ancient Mayan city known for its impressive stone structures and elevated platforms. At the center of the site stands a massive stepped pyramid rising above the surrounding jungle canopy, a structure that alone would have demanded an enormous and sustained construction effort. But what makes Itzna particularly unusual isn't the pyramid, it's what surrounds it. The city features an advanced water management system, canals, reservoirs, and drainage systems that appear highly organized and efficient across what was dense jungle terrain. This level of water infrastructure suggests a deep understanding of engineering far beyond what is often expected from civilizations of this time period. These weren't improvised channels. They were planned, built, and maintained as part of a functioning system. How such systems were designed and constructed in this environment, using only the tools available at the time, remains unclear. These ancient structures continue to challenge what we think we know about early civilizations. And in many cases, the more we study them, the more questions they raise. Which of these ancient structures do you think is the most mysterious? Let me know in the comments, and I'll see you in the next.